जय जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा धारी यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Gyadvirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshururmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utabadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadeshatarine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Srivashabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabde Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojjala Premadhya Sri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Jinatarine Rupanuga Viruddhapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Virbhava Bhumestam Nirdeshta Sajjana Priyaha Vaishtava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannatayate Namaha वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते जयतां सुरतोर्भंगुर मामंद मतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वापदां भोजो राधा मदन मोहनो दिव्यद्वृंदारण्य कल्पद्रुमादः श्रीमद्रत्नागार सिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमद्राधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेवो वृष्ट्रालिभिस्सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमान् रासरसारम्भि वंशीवटतटस्थितः कर्षं वेणुसनेर्गोपीर् गोपीनाथः श्रियस्तुनः तप्तकाञ्चन गौरङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे सर्वशास्त्राब्धि पीयूष सर्वैदेक सत्फला सर्व सिद्धांत रत्नाढ्या सर्वलोकैक दिक्प्रदा सर्वभागवत प्राणा श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो फलिद्वांतोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तिता Paramananda Pathanya Prema Varshakshara Sarvanda Sarasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostute Madeka Bandha Matsangin Madguru Manmahadana Annistaraka Madbhakya Madananda Namostute Asadu Saduta Adai Natini Chochataraka Anamanchakada Chinmam Premnarit Kantayo Spriha. Okay, we'll start where we left out yesterday. Before we go to the 6th chapter, I'll have a small recap of what we did yesterday. Now, we know in the 5th chapter, Narada, he attains Prema. And after attaining Prema, the day before the sages were leaving, the Vedantis, Bhakti Vedantis were leaving, then they called him. Then called and told that we are going to give you something special. That is not something more special than what you got. But the Bhakti Vedantis, they are very concerned about when this boy grows up, he may require some jnana and vairagya. And for that, we'll give some knowledge from jnana by which he can understand what is nishkama karma. So jnana karma samanvaya, we understood yesterday, where the sages gave him jnana, jnana tara, jnana tama, and also they described about the nature of karma. If the karma is used in the Supreme Lord's service, then that karma becomes the cause of liberation, and that karma not only the jnana by which he can perceive this world as energy of the Lord. They taught him karma has to be engaged in service of the Lord. And they give example. Example is that of medicine. The same thing which became the cause of the disease, if it is taken a different way, it becomes chikitsa, it becomes medicine for you. Amayo yascha bhutanam jayate yena suvrata tadeva hi amayam dravyam na punati chikitsitam. I give the example of milk. Milk, when it is taken in the form of a peda, then it jams the stomach. You get constipation. And the same milk, when you take in the form of curd, that clears the stomach. So the problem is not in the milk, the way you take it. The same problem is not karma, the way you use the karma. That is the problem. Now we did this jnana karma samanvaya. We understood karma is not the problem; it is attachment that is the problem. On the platform of jnana. So jnana karma samanvaya I did. Nayatra kriyate karma bhagavat paritosham jnanam tad yattad adhinam hi bhakti yoga samanvitam. So it is because of bhakti, jnana and karma can be harmonized. In this way, we understood many points about karma, jnana and bhakti. And then he says at the end as a conclusion, kurvan yatra karmani bhagavat chikshaya sakrit grananti gunanamani krishnanusmaranti cha. So that is why Krishna told Arjuna, Mamanasmara yuddhacha, you also do your yuddha, which is prescribed duty, at the same time do my sparan. The same conclusion Narada gives Vyasa, rather the Vedanta is told Narada. That is what is repeating to Vyasa here, in the 36th verse. And then starting from the 37th verse onwards, we have the Pancharatri Jnana given. We discussed about the Pancharatra, what is their position, and how Pancharatra first describes about the forms of the Lord, the 5 forms of the Lord, from 5 levels of the forms of the Lord, Para, Vyuha, Purusha, Antaryayami, and Archa. And we discussed yesterday that how Archa, the technology behind Archa Vigraha is nothing but Mantramurtim Amurtikam. The formless Lord appears in a form by the power of the mantras. So the gross manifestation of mantra is the deity, So we discussed a lot about the deity worship. Many questions came about it, especially in this age. The Pancharatra becomes more superior to Vedanta because that Vedanta, that philosophy, which is not having the pastimes of Krishna, it is tad darshanam kilam. It is insufficient. That as Narada has told previously. So Pancharatra comes into plays a very important role in our lives. We discover Pancharatric Vidhi in Bhagavad Vidhi, and imam sonigam brahmam avetya mad anustitam adan me jnanam aishwaryam. Apart from the knowledge of Pancharatra, they also gave him the impersonal knowledge, jnanam, and ultimately they gave him the knowledge of the siddhis, aishwarya, the Ashasiddhis. Swamin Bhavancha Keshava, ultimately pure love of God was spoken to him. And in this way, after explaining all these things, Narada, at the end he tells Vyasa that, oh Vyasa, write a book, write a scripture. Tamapada prashruta svisrutam vibho. You're very learned. I don't have to tell you much. I only gave you some polishing to what knowledge you already have. And samapyate yena vidam vibhushitam. For the purpose of enlightening the vidam, those who are uh, well read, those who are highly learned, for such people you should write a book. That should be the Bhagavatam. Based on whatever I have spoken to you, you write a book. Because this book is going to satisfy all the learned people. And especially those learned people will relish that book, and ultimately they'll speak the Bhagavatam in such a way. The others also, prakyati dukkhair muhur arditatmanam, those who are arditatmanam, those who are suffering in ignorance, they also sanklesha nirvana mushanti nanyatha. So they also will get rid of all the sankleshas, all the difficulties. Sanklesha nivaranam. And for this sanklesha nivaranam, ushanti nanyatha, there is no other book, there is no other thing. That is why Narada repeated this instruction to Vyasa third time. First he told Samadhinanaspara, and then he told, you write a book, Vicheshchitam Vibhoho. For those people who are very learned people, you write. And then Anatmanaha, they also will follow. The same point is repeating here in this verse, last verse, saying that Tamapyabadrashutam Vishutam Vibho Samapyate Yena Vidam Vibhushitam. Vidam, those learned people who are craving. So don't get dejected that if I write a book which is containing high voltage spirituality, highest voltage spirituality, who are going to be the audience? No, just there will be some audience, don't worry. Like sometimes when somebody told Prabhupada, oh Prabhupada, hardly people are coming to our temple or classes, hardly people are joining. And Srila Prabhupada told, if you go to a jewelry shop, there will be more sellers than buyers. There will be more people who are trying to selling the gold and jewelry. Then the customers will be very less. You have big showroom, gold, jewelry, TBZ. You have many people who are trying to sell. They're showing you so many things. Customers are hardly one or two. It's a big place, hardly a few people are there. And if you go to imitation jewelry, then you'll find many people there. So quantity is something which is not such an important thing in our preaching of Krishna consciousness. Vidam vibhushitam, or then these people who are learned, they will study this thing, and ultimately Bhagavatam is for everyone. Primarily for Nirmatsaranam, but ultimately because of the mercy of the Nirmatsaras, it becomes for everyone. That is Sansarinam Karunaya Purana Guhyam. Sansarinam, for Sansaris also. So the Sansaris are described here as Artitatmanam. And the intelligent people, Nirmatsaras, are described as Vidam. In the previous verse, previous few verses before, the Nirmatsaras have been described as Vijeshchitam, those who are learned, Vichakshano, Vichakshano Syarahati, Veditum Vibhu. And Anatmanaha, general people are described as Anatmanaha. In this way, Bhagavatam belongs to everyone. But target should be whom? Who are Rasikas, Rasika Bhuvibhavukaha. Now, we entered to the 6th chapter. It is a story in the beginning part, interesting story, Narada story. Now, remember that Bhagavad Katodarka, the whole Krishna consciousness, Krishna Katha, we can enter into Krishna Katha only when we actually do Bhakta Katha. It is Bhakta Katha which leads to Krishna Katha. So that is what is described in the Bhagavatam. If you see Bhagavatam, Parikshito Rajarsher Janma Karma Vilapanam Samsthanam cha Pandaputranam Vakshe Krishna Katodayam. In the first canto, 7th chapter, 12th verse, very interesting verse. He says, I am going to tell you the story of Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshito Rajarshir Janma Karma Vilapanam. Janma Karma Vilapanam. Janma means his birth, Parikshit Maharaj's birth. Karma means activity. And now Vilapanam means how he left the body. They are very interesting. Samsthanam cha Pandaputranam. And not only that, how Pandaputranam, this Parikshit Maharaj, he renounced the world. Vakshe, I am going to speak about it. Why? Krishna Katodayam. Remember this word, Krishna Katodayam. Now, when you talk of Parikshit, that leads to Krishna Katha. When you talk of Vyasa or Narada, it leads to Krishna Katha. There is no direct entry to Krishna Katha. The whole first canto is meant for only this, to prove this purpose. Until unless you get the mercy of devotees, you will not get the mercy of Krishna. The same way, until unless you hear the stories of devotees, you cannot hear the story of Krishna. If you say Krishna Katha is a storehouse of jewelry, nice gems, the door is Bhakta Katha, Bhagavat Katha, Bhagavata Katha. Bhagavata means devotee. That is why there are two kinds of Bhagavatas. One is Bhakta Bhagavata, Grantha Bhagavata. So the Grantha Bhagavata itself shows the whole first canto is Bhakta Bhagavat. The stories of Bhagavatas, Bhakta Bhagavata. So note this words 1.7.12. The last line at least, if you don't remember the first 3 lines. Krishna Katodayam. Katha Udayam. The Krishna Katha manifests from Bhagavat Katha. Bhagavad Katha manifests from Bhagavata Katha. That is a philosophy here. So Narada's story is for that. Let us go to the story told by Narada about himself, his own story. And that too, he started telling because he was asked. Now 1.6.1. Evam nishamya bhagavan devarsher janma karma cha bhuya prapracha tam brahman Vyasaha Satyavati Sutaha. Now, Bhuyaha means he asked again, who was Suta Uvacha. Suta Goswami told that Bhuyaha again, Vyasa, he asked Satyavati, Vyasa who is Satyavati's son, Vyasaha Satyavati Sutaha. He asked Narada, after hearing about Evam Nishamya Bhagavan Devarshir Janma Karmacha. After hearing about the birth and activities of Narada, Bhuyaha Praprachatam Brahman Vyasaha Satyaviti Suchaha. Now, we know Narada is going to explain 2 more points in this particular chapter. Because he attained Prema, after Prema there are 2 things left. What is it? If you remember, out of the 14 points. First one is 14 points. Number 1. Mahat Kripa, Mahat Seva, Shraddha, Spriha, Bhakti, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti. So we forgot one. The first one is Mahat Kripa, Mahat Seva, then Shraddha, Spriha, Bhakti. And then by Bhakti, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema. In this way, you have all the 12 items which is described in the previous chapter. But there are two more left. What are the two more which are left? Which are very interesting. That is Sakshat Darshan and Madhurya Anubhavam. Experiencing the sweetness of Krishna, having darshan of Krishna, and experiencing the sweetness of Krishna. These 2 points are described in this chapter. So how he could have darshan of Krishna, how he experienced the sweetness of Krishna, how he experienced separation from Krishna after having darshan of Krishna, all these things are described in this particular chapter. Now, going further, and ultimately Narada receives a spiritual body, that is also described. Vyasa Uvacha. Vyasa, he asks question. Let us see what is the question asked by Vyasa. Bhikshube vipravasite vijnanadishtivirtava vartamano vayasyade tata kim akarod bhavan. Vartamano vayasyadye tata kim akarod bhavan. Tataha kim akarod bhavan. Bhavan means respectfully addressing Narada. Oh Narada, kim akarod, what did you do? After Bhibukshu, Bhikshubir. Bhikshu means those who are Vedantists or Bhikshu. They Vijnanena Adishtivir Tava. After giving the signs, what signs they gave? The signs of Bhakti, the entire signs of Bhakti. Then the signs of Jnana, Uttama Jnana. What is that? That is the topmost Jnana, to see this world as the energy of Krishna, as told by Krishna, Bhagatoditam. And then they spoke about the Jnana Karma Samanvaya, that especially how karma performed for the Lord is the only way to get out of the Karma Bandhana. And then they gave the Jnana of Pancharatri knowledge. And ultimately the yogic siddhis they gave. And after speaking all these things, ultimately love of God, some glory of love of God, they have also spoken. All these things are spoken. That is why it is not Vijnanadeshivistava Vartamano. They all left. Now, Vartamana, what did you do? How did you conduct your life after they left? Because you are just very young at that time. So, now comes the very important line which Prabhupada writes in purport. The process is technically called Saddharma Pricha in the purport. If you remember, in the previous few classes back, I lost my temper and then became angry when one question was asked. When one devotee asked a question, Prabhuji, how is it, why is it necessary that we have to go into so many details of trying to find out different steps in devotion? Why just we can't just do simply devotion? Why don't we just simply do devotion? So when I hear that question, generally anger comes out, because they think the ignorance is actually, question is not because of anything. Question is because of the expression of one's ignorance. There is a big ignorance in the mind of the devotees. That is, they think that these Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, and discussing intricate points, dwelling deep into the subject matter, this is not Bhakti's Jnana. No, it is one of the 64 items of Bhakti. That is called Saddharma Pricha. Among the 64 items of devotional service, the fifth one is Saddharma Pricha. This desire to inquire from the spiritual master is an essential factor of progressive path. So to inquire, the desire to inquire from spiritual master and to dwell deep into the subject matter, then you go deeper and deeper, you get more and more jewels. The more and more jewels you get of bhakti, the more and more you relish. So, if somebody is Siddhanta bole chitte na karo las, if somebody is thinking that this Siddhanta is too much, oh, make it simple, Prabhu. Prabhupada, simplify, simplify, simplify. That is true. We are simplifying but expanding Krishna consciousness, expanding the understanding of Krishna consciousness, expanding the limited relishment what we are having. We are going deep and bringing out more and more nectar out of these verses, these words. So this is called Sadharma Pracha, and it is the essential factor. It is not something to be sidelined. It's an essential factor. Okay. Go further. Third verse. Swayambhuva kaya vritya vartitam te param mayah katam chedam katam chedam udarakshi kale prapte kalevaram. Kalam prapte kalevaram. Kale prapte kalevaram. So the question by Vyasa is, first question, oh, Swayam Bhuva Kaya Vritya. One of the names of Swayambhu is, Brahma is Swayambhu, and Kaya Vritya Vartitam Te Param Vayaha. How did you spend your life, oh son of Brahma? How did you spend the rest of your life after you got initiation? And how did you attain this body? Because Vyasa could see Narada as a divine body, Sachidananda Vigraha. Having quit the old body, your old one, in due course of time. So we know in the previous life, Narada Muni was just a maid servant, son. So how he became transformed and got a spiritual body, you wanted to know, which is Sachidananda. And Vyasa desired him to disclose the fact for everyone's satisfaction. So says, I am your disciple. Tishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. I desire to know, so I am asking you, please tell me. Idam Kalevaram refers to the body born from maid servants. Idam Kalevaram Sujja. By giving that, how did you get this spiritual body? I want to know. Now, fourth verse. Not only that, what did you do and how did you get this body? Now, you are telling all the things which happened in the previous life of yours. And the previous life is actually a previous kalpa of Brahma. Prakalpa vishayan etan smritim te munisattama nahi esha vedadhat kalaha esha sarva nirakriti. Generally, we don't remember what happened yesterday. What to speak of remembering something which happened in the previous life, and that too previous day of Brahma. Just imagine how much time has passed. Unlimited time has passed practically. 12 hours of Brahma has passed. So I want to know, minimum 12 hours have passed. Prakalpa Vishyan Etan Srutim Te Sattama. Because it is said, Vedadhat Kalayesha Sarva Nirakriti. The nature of time is that it destroys everything. Since time destroys everything, how is it that your memory was not destroyed? So Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that this consciousness is inferior, destructible and perverted. But super consciousness, or the super mind, is a spiritual plane, is as good as a spirit soul and is never annihilated. So Narada, having a spiritual body, he remembered what all happened in the previous kalpa for him. So Narada developed the spiritual consciousness even when he had the material body in the previous kalpa. So we know that Narada developed prema. And even having this body, he had prema. It is like Mayavadi is saying, or some people say, that you get liberation after death is one thing. Another ignorance is death is liberation, so people commit suicide. But Narada was liberated even though he was in this body. Nikhilasu pivasthasu jivan muktasya uchate. Even though the body is living, it's called jivan mukta. Jivan muktasya uchate. Now, going further, fifth verse. Narada uvacha. After hearing the maidservant, son, small boy, and got a spiritual body. And the third one, how is it that you are able to remember what all you heard from the previous life? So, three questions were asked in two verses by Vyasa to Narada. Then Narada, he starts speaking. Bhikshubir vipravashite vignanena deshibir mama vartamano स्याद् वर्तमानो वयस्याद्ये तथा एतद् akarasham. So Narada says, Bhikshubir, they left, they went to their place. Vijnana adishtribhi, after imparting Vijnana to me, and Vartamana Vyayasyaadhye Tataha Etat Akarasham. I had to pass my life as instructed by the sages. Whatever the sages yeah, the voice got cut. Okay. So in his previous life, when Narji was impregnated with spiritual knowledge by the grace of the great sages, there was a tangible chance in his life, although he was only a boy of 5 years. That is an important symptom visible after initiation by bona fide spiritual master. Actual association of devotee brings about a quick change in the life of spiritual realization. How it so acted upon the previous life of Sri Narad Muni is described by and by this chapter. Next. Ekatmaja me janani yoshim mudha cha kinkari mayatmaje nanyagato chakre nehanubandanam. So I have only one mother, and for me I'm the only son. Ekatmaja me janani. I have only one son. Some is a problem from there or from my side? I don't know. whatever it may be. Yoshim Mudacha Kinkari. So she was woman, and not only woman, she was dull, dumb, and also she was Kinkari. She was just a maid servant. Mayatmaje Anyagato. For her, Anyagato, there is no other gati for her other than me. In this way, we are so much tied with each other. Snehanubandhanam. Then, seventh verse. Shashvatatra na kalpasid. Yosha darumai yatha. So she wanted to take care of me very nicely. But what to do? She has no independence. She could not take it because she's a maid servant. She could not. Yogakshemam mama echati. What to do? Ishasyahi vashe loke. Everybody is controlled by the Lord. Ishasya vashe loke. The whole world is under absolute control of the Lord. Ishasya vashe loke. How? Yosha darumai yatha. Like the puppet. Darumai, which is made up of wooden doll, is controlled by the person who is controlling the puppeteer. Eighth verse. Aham cha tad brahma kule ushivam stadupayeksh. Okay. So now able to hear. Okay. So aham cha tad brahma kule. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay. So he says Digdesha Kala Panno. And I was totally dependent. Balaka Panchayana, I was totally dependent on my mother and no experience of any other thing. I don't know what direction I have to go. I don't know what is the time. Nothing I have no. I have no idea about it. Ekada nirgatam gehat tuhantim nishigam pati. Ekada one day, she went to take milk. To take milk from the cow, to milk the cow. So what happened? Duhanti Nishigam Patihi Sarpodashat Padas Prishta. So she was bitten by a snake and Kripanam Kala Choditaha. By the influence of time, she was bitten by the snake and she died. She was just 5-year-old. Narada says, my mother died. Just see, nobody else other than her for in his life. But in spite of that, so Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, that is the way of dragging a sincere soul near to God. The poor boy was being looked after only by his affectionate mother, and yet the mother was taken from the world by the supreme will in order to put him completely at the mercy of the Lord. So every one has the Lord has a plan for everyone, and whatever happens in our life is nothing but the plan of the Lord to bring us closer to Him. Here, Ekada Nirgatim Nigehat. When she went alone, she died, and Narada's mother died. And Narada was alone. And Narada says that things like this in the next verse. Tada tadaham ishasya tada tadaham ishasya bhaktanam abhipsataha anugraham manyamanaha. 5-year-old boy, mother died, and nobody in his life. And what is he thinking? Anugraham manyamanaha. Oh, it is a special mercy of the Lord. Generally, when somebody, our close relative, is very sick, admitted in the hospital, we say, oh Lord, show mercy on him and make him all right. And if he becomes all right, we think there is mercy of the Lord. If he dies or she dies in the hospital, then we think Lord has not shown us mercy. But here Narada, this 5-year-old boy, and the only one person who was taking care of his mother. When the mother died, Narada is thinking, Anugraham, it is a special mercy of the Lord. And Narada has so much of faith. What is the faith? Bhaktanam sam abhipsataha. Abhipsataha. He has a special desire in taking care of the devotee. Anugraham manyamanaha. Ishasya bhaktanam samapsataha. Anugraham manyamanaha. Pradishtam dishamuttaram. What do you do? Disham uttaram. He started walking towards north. Just imagine, considering mothers leaving the body, that too all of a sudden by the snake bite, Narada considered that it is mercy of Krishna. Because of the association of devotees, because of the power of devotion, he did not cry, not even a single drop of tears fell from his eyes. Anugraham manyamanaha pradishtam dishamuttaram. How can you understand this is mercy? Because we should have firm faith that Krishna always takes care of his devotees. Krishna always thinks of the welfare of his devotees. Krishna will never do any harm to his devotees. So whatever happens in our life is actually planned by Krishna, so it is for our welfare only. Narada would have been there only, maybe mother would have been there, he would have been there. He would not shown what exactly means by accepting a spiritual body. Nobody knew what exactly is spiritual life. Maybe a few people. Narada became Narada because of this kind of brave attitude. He did not even see, oh, who is going to take care of me? Pratishtam dishamuttaram. Some people even say that Narada did not even do the last rites of his mother. Shraddha ceremony has to be done, Shraddha and all. Nothing. Antin Sanskar also not done. He just started Pratishtam, Dishamuttaram. He went to the northern side. Now, mundane prosperity is a kind of material fever. By the grace of the Lord, the temperature of this material fever is gradually diminished, and spiritual health is obtained step by step. Mundane people misunderstand it. So, mundane people, those materialistic people, they have no idea of what spiritual consciousness is. How a person spiritually situated reacts. You find here, you're so calm. Mother's body was there. He turned towards north and started walking. Spitam Janabadam Statra. Now he is crossing so many places. Let us see what are the places he walked. Spitam Janapadam Satra Uragrama Vrajakaran Keta Karvata Vataischa Upavananicha. So he crossed over so many places. What are the places which he crossed over? Let us see. Pihitan, the flourishing. Janapadan, Janapadan refers to cities. And then Puragrama, Pura. Pura refers to small towns. Pura refers to not a town, actually capital of a city. Janapadan means metropolis, and you have Pura, also capitals or something like that. And then Grama, Puragrama. Grama, according to Varnashrama, wherever Varnashrama, small towns where the Brahmins are staying along with their servants, that is called Grama. And then Vraja, the big farmhouses, 50 acres, 100 acres, that's called Vraja. Like Nanda Maharaj, big farm, Vraja. And then Akaran, mines. Kheta, you say Khet, agricultural fields. Karvata means valleys. And Vateischa, big gardens, flower gardens. And Vanani, forest. Upavanani, Upavanani refers to a lot of trees, many big trees are there, different varieties of trees, that's called Upamana. And this way, flowers, flower gardens, and Upavanani, nursery, many varieties of trees and plants are there. Srila Prabhupada, as soon as he found these words here, immediately talks about the real natural economy, the Vedic economy. He says the man's activities in agriculture, mining, farming, industries, gardening were all the same scale as they are now, even previous to the present creation. And the same activities will remain as they are even in the next creation. So all these things which Narada is describing, it's all in the previous creation. They're all there. And after many hundreds of millions of years, one creation is started by the law of nature, and the history of the universe repeats itself practically in the same way. The mundane wranglers waste time with archaeological excavation without searching into the vital necessities of life. After getting impetus of spiritual life, Narad Muni, even though a mere child, did not waste a time of a single moment with economic development. Although he passed towns and villages, mines and industries, he continually went on to progressive spiritual emancipation. Srimad Bhagavatam is a repetition of history which happened some hundreds of millions of years ago. As it is said herein, only the most important factors of history are picked up to be recorded in this translated literature. Next, Chitra Dhatu Vichitradim Vibhavanga Bhuja Durman Jalashayan Chivasjalan Nalinihi Surasevita Chitra Sanehi Patra Rathair Brahmad Brahmara Shriyaha. So he went further. He went Chittatu, Vichit. Yeah. So then Narada says, I passed through hills and mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoir of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers, fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered bees and singing birds. He went to all these places. And Nalavenu Saratamba Kushaki Chakagan Gar Gavaram Eka Evatiatoham Adraksham Vipinam Mahat Goram Pratibhayakaram Vyaloluka Shiva Shivajiram. Then I passed along through many forests of rushes, bamboos, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which are very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerous, fearful forests, which were the play yard for snakes, owls, and jackals. So, dangerous places he went through. Now, Srila Prabhupada talks about Parivrajaka Acharya. As soon as he finds a time, he immediately starts about Parivrajaka Acharya. Some gives Krishna conscious, Bhaktivedanta purports. Now, it is a duty of a mendicant, Parivrajaka Acharya, to experience all varieties of God's creation by traveling alone through all forests, hills, towns, villages. You just go to Bombay, you'll find all these people. Everything there one place, all kinds of people. To gain faith in God and strength of mind, as well as to enlighten the inhabitants with the message of God. Three purposes: gain strength, faith in God, ultimately to preach. A sannyasi is duty bound to take all risk without fear. And the most typical sannyasi of the present age is Lord Chaitanya, who traveled in the same manner to the central Indian jungles, enlightening even the tigers, bears, snakes, deers, elephants, and many other jungle animals. In this age of Kali, sannyasa is prohibited for ordinary men. One who changes his dress to make propaganda is a different man for the original ideal sannyasi. For the original ideal sannyasi. One should, however, take the vow to stop social intercourse completely and devote life exclusively to the service of the Lord. The change of dress is only a formality. Lord Chaitanya did not accept the name of sannyasi. And in the age of Kali, the so-called sannyasi should not change their former names. Following the footsteps of the Lord Chaitanya in this age, in the age of Kali, the so-called sannyasis should not change their former names, following the footsteps of Chaitanya. In this age, devotional service of hearing and repeating the holy glories of the Lord is strongly recommended. And one who takes the vow of renunciation of family life need not imitate the Parivrajaka Acharya like Narada or Chaitanya, but may sit down at some holy place and devote the whole time and energy to hear and repeatedly chant the holy scriptures left by the great acharyas like the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. So, Prabhupada gives a Bhaktivedanta purport to it. Narada walking like this is actually sannyas. Sannyasis are to be fearless, and Narada was so fearless and he did not get attracted to any of these things. Keshava tuva prade jagat vichitra. This whole world is vichitra. So strange. Then Narada, he comes to a point. He says, Parishatendriyatma trit parito bhuvukshitaha snatva pitva hridena nadya upasprushto gadashramaha. So while traveling, I felt tired. Then what happened? Both bodily, mentally, I was very tired. What did I do? I took bath. There was one river there. I took bath, drank some water, and then as soon as I took bath and drank some water, I was relieved. I sat under a tree. Now the traveling mendicant being a beggar, the doors of the householders. Just go, you'll get something. 2 chapatis, everybody will give. Or you'll find some fruit, something you will find. Nobody will go hungry. Especially when you are serving the Lord, chanting Hare Krishna, why he'll keep you hungry? He'll not trouble you. He'll give something or other. So that much faith sannyasi should have. Fearlessness is the quality of the sannyasi. Especially once you surrender to the Lord, he should only depend on Lord for his maintenance. Krishna will take care of me in all circumstances. That should be the attitude, the consciousness of sannyasi. Then going further, tasmin nirmanujeranye pippalopastashritaha atmanatmanam atmastam yatha shrutam achintayam. So tasmin nirmanuje ranye. There was no human being in that forest, in that aranya. Pippalopastashritaha. I went and sat down under the pipal tree. Pippalopasta, banyan tree. Then atmanatmanam atmastam. Then I was thinking about myself, went inside. Then I yathashrutam achintyam, as I heard from the Vedantist. And depending on, I started meditating. So one should not meditate according to one's own personal whims, but talks about it. So everybody is now into meditation, but object of meditation is not known. How to meditate, it is not known. Just meditate, that's all. No. As being instructed, that is why atmastam yathashrutam, as I've heard, anuchintayan, you start meditating on. One should know perfectly well from the authoritative sources of scriptures to the transparent medium of the bona fide spiritual master, and by proper use of one's trained intelligence for meditating upon the super soul dwelling within every living being. This consciousness is firmly developed by a devotee who has rendered loving service unto the Lord by carrying out the orders of the spiritual master. Sri Naraji contacted bona fide spiritual masters, served them sincerely, and got enlightenment rightly. Thus he began to meditate. So this is how we stop for the first session now. If you have any questions, please do ask so that we can go further. Okay, question has come. Thank you for explanation about Sadharma Pricha. Someone feels that I hear every day, but I don't get any questions in my mind. Do I have to artificially create inquiries or just continue to hear, read? What is guideline to follow this? Please explain. Okay. You are hearing every day, and the speaker is also, or speakers are also speaking every day. But the very word every day indicates that there is something going on ritualistic. Some ritualistic is going on. Ritualistic way of hearing, ritualistic way of speaking is going on. So, first recommendation is, if somebody is giving a class for 1 hour, they should prepare at least for 1 hour. And if you are prepared your class for 1 hour, then in that preparation you make sure that there is something which is left for the audience to ask. There are certain things which you have to leave intentionally, not speak about it. Number one. Number two, when you're giving class, you're preparing class, you prepare in such a way and speak in such a way that it makes the other person who are hearing, those people who are hearing, it makes them thoughtful. For that, you may raise a contradiction and don't resolve the contradiction. You just raise a contradiction and just leave it. That is a test about those people who are sitting in front of you. Are they conscious or unconscious? Are they interested or uninterested? Are they just waiting for your glass to get over or not? So this is the thing from the speaker, the point of view. From the person who is hearing point of view, you might not have questions. You may not be having any questions, but definitely you can raise a question for the sake of others. It is a sadhu lakshana that even though you may know the answers to some questions, that you still ask questions so that the others will be benefited. If you don't, then Krishna Katha will be stagnant. So for the expansion of Krishna Katha, you need to ask questions. Of course, there is a methodology to ask question, what kind of question, how to ask question, what is the consciousness behind question. That is all there. It is nothing like artificially creating a question. There is nothing like artificially create a question, inquiry. It should be genuine for the sake of the benefit of others and one's own self. In this way, we should ask a question. And of course, it also depends on the speaker. So don't make the Bhagavatam class a ritual. If the Bhagavatam class becomes ritual, then the entire life of a devotee, entire temple becomes a ritual. Parikshit Maharaj and Nutanasya Ishasya, even though he knew the entire pastimes, all pastimes of Krishna, but still he asked clarification about some pastimes about Krishna, because he felt the newness in each and every thing which is asked. So the guideline to follow is very simple. That is for both the speaker as well as the audience. The speakers should be one should make speak the Bhagavatam in such a way that it is interesting to the audience. If it is not interesting to the audience, then Bhagavatam class will become a ritual. That's one thing. Next, did any Purana mentions destination of Narada boys, previous life Narada boys, mother? For this, I'd like to bring out some philosophical point. In many times in our scriptures, in our Acharya's lives, when I was speaking about Ramanujacharya, we know the story of Ramanuja. He called the Brahmin and told, you give this letter to my wife. So the Brahmin went and gave the letter to the wife. The wife saw the letter. And then Ramanuja went later, she gave the letter to the Ramanuja and told. Ramanuja letter. Actually, this letter was written by Ramanuja himself, as if the wife's father is sending. His wife's father is sending. So there, in the letter says that you please come. Our daughter is getting married, and your sister is getting married. The Ramanuja says you should go. Then Ramanuja's wife says, I also come along with you. You also come along with me. How can I go alone? Ramanuja says, I got a lot of work. Your sister is getting married, and I'll come. The day of marriage, I'll come. Then if I don't come, then you understand that I have a higher service, some very important work, that is I could not come. Then wife, then one devotee, asked a question. The question was, Roji, you told about Ramanuja's story. What about the wife? What happened to the wife? Are. So that's not a question supposed to be asked at all. His Purvashrama should not be discussed until unless it is already been described. Okay. Until unless it has been described and it has got some purpose. Like what happened to Raghavendra Swami's wife is described in Raghavendra Vijaya. She became a ghost and she came to him as a ghost and he delivered her. So, Prabhupada took sannyas. What happened to his wife? What happened to his children? No. The etiquette is sannyasi's purvashrama should not be discussed until unless it has some significant influence in his life and purvashrama related things. If you see all our sannyasis, if you talk about the purvashrama, there were many of the drug addicts. What they used to do? What about their girlfriends? You can ask her, what you should not. There's no over. The chapter is over. Sannyas means death, spiritual, social death. That means another life. There's no question of talking about what all they did, what kind of friends they had, how many wives they had, what did the wife do, what did the mother do. All these things are not supposed to be discussed. Narada is now I think there is some problem with the but now they're gaib. Then I'm not able to see those two questions. So, what should we continue with this kind of breaking, audio breaking, and all these things? connection getting lost and coming back. Should we really continue now? Or should we stop for today and then do for tomorrow? Okay, anyhow, some questions were there. Please retype those questions. So what is the view of the host? Is the problem from my side or the side of Hare Krishna? Dhanotruji. Roji, my side is the problem or your side is the problem? Is it like that? Okay, let me see. Let me see. Okay. Okay, I changed the net connection. Okay, so now it's clear. So some questions were there, please. Type those questions. Hare Krishna. So we should continue with the, okay, some question. In 1.6.13, Srila Prabhupada mentions that in the age of Kali, so-called sannyasis should not change their former names, following the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How to understand this? Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas from Keshav Bharati. Now, before that, he was known as Nimai Pandit. Then, what happened is, when he was initiated into sannyas, his name became Krishna Chaitanya. Actually, it should be Krishna Bharati. In the Dashavidha Sannyas, as established by Sripad Shankaracharya, there are 10 names of sannyasis, like Bharati, Tirtha, Saraswati, Giri, like that. And every sannyasi name has a brahmachari name. In the Bharati line of sannyas, Chaitanya is a brahmachari name. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not take the sannyas name, that is Bharati, but he took only Chaitanya. Why? Because he wanted to show to the entire world that brahmachari is a servant. Jiva is also servant. So, Jiva is not God. To prove that point, that Jiva Surupoy Krishna Nityadas, he accepted the brahmachari's name because brahmachari is a servant of the sannyasi. In this way, he only took the Chaitanya name. He did not change the name. He did not take the sannyas name. So even now, it is actually best that continue the same name. But now in ISKCON, what sannyas system we follow is something different from what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the sannyas, the Dashvidha sannyas, without shikha and without Brahmin thread. Like one devotee asked the question, why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had no Brahmin thread? Why he had not shikha? Why Badho sannyasis don't have? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also took sannyas in the same Dashvidha sannyas line, because shikha and this Brahmin thread, Yajnopavita, gives you adhikar for doing karma. And in the karma sannyas, that means you are giving up karma, you are giving up your adhikara for karma. That is why you give up your Brahmin thread and shikha. That is why Madhva sannyasis don't have shikha and Brahmin thread. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, because the system of sannyas, the same sannyas was set up by Shankaracharya. The same sannyas was taken. That's why the sannyas. Now, in our movement, we take the sannyas called Tridandi sannyas, in which there are 108 names of sannyas. Swami, Goswami, Madhav Maharaj, Keshav Maharaj. Like that, there are 108 names, which was very much prevalent right from the beginning of age of Kali. Nimbaraka Sampradaya, Tridanda sannyas was prevalent. But somehow, Sripad Shankaracharya introduced the 10 system, 10 of Dashvidha sannyas, which is not scriptural, it is own creation. And that became very famous because of the influence of Sripad Shankaracharya. But originally, there was only the 20 sannyas which had 108 names of sannyas. Madhav Maharaj, Keshav Maharaj, like we say. These are all actually sannyas names. So we accept only those names as sannyas names, which is actually not a change of name, rather than accepting the name of a particular sannyas. It is a different system altogether. Srila Prabhupada is talking about criticizing the Dashvidha sannyas of Shankara, which involves change of name, and they think that they have become as good as Narayana. Now, the question is more about the current discrimination prevalent based on the caste system. Sometimes I wonder how come Narada Muni, being the son of Shudra, got the service of Bhakti Vedanta. Hearing directly from Bhakti Vedanta shows that the society was open to give instruction to anyone, regardless of their varna. We see Ramanand Rai was a Shudra, but a governor of Madras. Did similar society exist 500 years back where Shudras were given equal rights? Caste system was there, but in a perfect way. We knew Kanchi Purna. We'll take the 800 years back story, 900 years, 1000 years back story. Kanchi Purna considered himself to be a Shudra. Actually, he was a big time merchant, gold merchant. Purnamali, even till today, is a very famous place in Madras. That is where he was born. Kanchipurna was born in Purnamali. The Purnamali is a place where still Varadaraj deity is there. That was originally his house. There was a big estate he had, huge. He was so rich, super duper rich. He was not belonging to Shudra, but a lower class businessman. But all the Brahmins, if they want to talk to Varadaraj, they used to talk through him because he used to talk to Varadaraj. And he was allowed, after all the Brahmins would complete their puja, they would give the chamar in the hand, they'd give the deity, you take care of him. Ramanuja saying 8,000 and 9,000 years back, that too in Kanchipuram. So caste system was also there. At the same time, it was in a perfect way. Nobody had any pride of being Brahmin. Because of having some pride of Brahmin, they did not degrade the other caste. If you see Tiruppan Alvar, he directly went into the deity. He's not a Muni Vahana. He caught on the shoulders of Muni, of a priest, and he went into the deity and went into the deity of the Lord. So this wrong interpretation of the caste system, so that the Vedic India, the Vedic culture will be degraded, Indians will be degraded. That was projected by the British. They projected in a false way and also injected this false mentality in the people. So caste system was perfectly there. Now misuse of the caste system is because of the British, and the wrong projection of the caste system is because of the British. Unfortunately, the whole world's history was actually presented by the Europeans based on the Eurocentric ideology. That is why we actually don't know what really it was. I'll tell you, in my village, everybody was respected for their work. A barber was respected for his work. He was not degraded. Of course, barber will be treated as will be not only treated, he will be considered as barber only. What is wrong in being a barber? So it is the British ideology which brought somebody superior to somebody, somebody inferior to somebody. All the four Varnas were peacefully and nicely existing, and each one were given respect according to their own position. The Brahmins were respecting the Vaishyas because of they were giving charity. Even for example, even in our temples, when somebody gives charity, are they not respected? Not treated. Now, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, when he was building a temple or renovating the temple in Alarnath, he was making beedis for the workers. They are supposed to be respected. Especially workers, when a function happens, workers, they should be taken care more nicely, because if they don't do the work properly, your function will not happen. So, wrong projection of the idea, that is the problem. As you told at the end, rights. Equal rights is a communist idea. Duties should be given prominence. Rights are not to be the agenda of every citizen. In the Varnashrama Dharma, in a Rajaniti in the Mahabharata, it is described that the king's duty, it is described about the Vaishya's duty, Brahmin's duty. Nobody talks about the rights. If you talk about duty, rights automatically follows. Now what has happened is the communistic mentality. If I have to get into this subject, it is too vast subject, and Indians have to know about this thing. There was an intellectual big think tank behind destroying the culture of this country so that the Britishers can rule. So these Britishers, the Europeans, so what they did was they brought this mentality of rights. It's my right. So that for that they took shelter of communism. So this the religion, the religion of the West, when they wanted to propagate their religion in this country, so what they did, they put communistic mentalityness, which has taken the form of Naxalism these days. So, and the first education minister, of course I don't want to tell his name also, very obnoxious name, he told that our history books should not contain the atrocities of the Mohammedans done onto this land, should not glorify the Gupta rule, should not glorify the kings like Bhoja, should not glorify the saints of India, and the ideology should be communistic. And that is the reason we talk about these words are used, equal rights. In every scripture, any place, talk about duties, rights follow. So these terms which are found in the questions by the devotees, I can directly see the brain game of the British in trying to destroy the Vedic culture, destroy our heritage, and somehow project communistic ideas. Anyhow, when I see these terms, I get angry. That is why I'm using these words, these kind of statements here. So, back where Shudras were, 500 years back, were Shudras given equal rights? It is not equal rights. Everybody were trained to do their duties. And the duties automatically gives rights, because dharma, when it is followed, it gives artha and kama is fulfilled. So it's a very subtle science. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha is a very subtle science. Of course, we are Bhagavatas. Those who are hearing this class, they are mukshus. That is why I don't speak much about this, these socio-economic, political aspects of our scriptures. But since you have spoken about the sociology of the Bhagavata, I'm just speaking like this. Okay, so all were having trained in performing their dharma. So rights means fulfilling of one's desires. That will come automatically as a byproduct of practice of dharma, duty. Then artha, of course, becomes the mula, economy. That's another subject. Okay. That is the way of dragging a sincere soul near to God. Does it mean that Krishna killed his mother, or is it that anyway she was supposed to die by her Daiva, Divya? Now again the problem. Do you think these two, Krishna rule is different and Daiva's rule is different? Krishna's Daiva is subservient to Krishna. Daiva means Karmana Daivanetrena, and Daiva is under the Mayadhyakshena Prakriti. To think these two are different is because we have been trained in the Christian schools. In Christianity, you are two, the divine and demon. The divine has a source in God, and the devil has a different power. But for us, even the devil comes from God. Evil comes from God. What is your problem? God is the source of everything. So because of this, we think that Krishna killed mother and the mother was killed by Daiva. Are these two different things? No. There is only one source of authority. Okay. Going further. If anyone is supposed to die, is it just a devotional reception of Narada boy to take it as Krishna's mercy? Both. Whatever has to happen according to destiny, it will happen under the will of Krishna. And a devotee knows it is happening under the will of Krishna. And a non-devotee, those who are ignorant, they don't know. That is the difference. It is the knowledge. It is not artificially a devotee thinks, okay, it is by Krishna's will. No. It is. It is the design of Krishna. Until as Krishna wills, nothing happens, even though karma is there. Of course, Krishna doesn't will anything which is antagonistic to karma by default. But he can do so. That is Vaishnava understanding of karma and Krishna connection. Connection between our karma and Krishna. Karma phala pradata, absolutely, until as Krishna, he sanctions, even though it is in our karma, it will not fructify. That is why both are non-different. Don't see these are two different. Next, is it just devotional perception of Narada? It is not just, it is absolute perception of Narada to take Krishna's mercy. Yes. If that is the case, then what is the meaning of Srila Prabhupada's statement that this is the way of dragging a sincere soul near to God? Yeah. Actually, Krishna, he makes plans for everyone. Makes plans for everyone. That is what he's doing. waiting how to bring this soul back home, back to God, towards him. Now for that, he makes different arrangements. And it so happens that some fall into the arrangement of the Lord, accept that the arrangement of the Lord and continue, and some don't accept it. So Krishna is making fan for everyone. That is why he comes as incarnation. He gives us Gita. So many things he does. For every jiva is a plan. But you fit into the plan, you'll go back home. If you don't fit into the plan, you'll be struggling in this world. That is the difference. Going further, last question by some devotee. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The coming of Bhaktivedantas became a turning point in Narada's life. He is at what we term as Ahetuki Kripa, step 1. A devotee desires to give a living entity Krishna Prem, and then all 13 steps will follow. What delays the process? Yes. The step 1 is mercy. Okay. Now, what delays? Our underutilization of mercy, or not utilizing mercy, or being ignorant of the mercy. So this is what delays. Atvanga I achieved in a second. What delays is this thing only? Why delay? One devotee asked Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, oh, I am not able to do this, I am not able. And Prabhupada, what's wrong? I am able to do. Then Srila Prabhupada, the devotee told, Prabhupada, you are a pure devotee. And Prabhupada, who stopped you from becoming a pure devotee? Who is stopping you? There is only one person stopping you from becoming a pure devotee, that is yourself. The desire. The strong desire to take complete advantage of the mercy of the devotees. Srila Prabhupada told, take advantage of me. So, what delays is we not taking advantage completely. Complete advantage. That delays. That eagerness, that delays. From our side, delays from our side, not from Krishna's side. Now, caste system. Oh, in SB we see that Devayani, Sharmishta and Shringi cursing to Parikshit due to being higher caste. Vidura called Dasiputra. Shabri was removed by the sage of Pampa Sarovara. Kanakada was not allowed in Udupi temple by Brahmanas. Roop Sanatan, Haridas Thakur, not allowed Jagannath temple. Lord Chaitanya didn't object the caste system practice. In some temples only Hindus were allowed entry. Our scriptures say that bhakti is not dependent on birth. True. Kanakadasa was not allowed. This is what is a Western way of presenting thing. It is not that Kanakadasa was not allowed. Kanakadasa would not go. He would come and then say, oh Lord, when are you giving darshan? And again, it is not that Roop Sanatan were not allowed, Haridas Thakur were not allowed. That was the custom they were following, that's all. They did not say it is our right to go. And neither Chaitanya told, yes, I'll make sure that I'll take you to the temple inside. No. Whatever was the custom at that time, that was followed. And there are some places where some people would go, and there are some places sometimes they would be allowed inside also. Like, so, as I've told, and you also written, that bhakti is for everyone, and the caste system is not antagonistic to bhakti when it is taken in a perfect form. Everybody has their duties according to the duties. Even in our temple also. Why not everybody is not allowed into the altar? You say caste system? No, because these are the people who are supposed to go there, allowed there. Not everybody is allowed in the accounts department. Why? The caste system? No, it is duty. Based on duties, there are certain restrictions and certain permissions. That's all. We don't want to talk much about it, and we'll go further, complete about a couple of verses because I need to take a early off today for some reason or so. Okay. Text number 17. Premadibara nirbhinna ullakongotini vrataha ananda sampravelino navashyam ubhayam mune. Beautiful words. Now, Narada is describing what's happening to him. When he started meditating, what happened? Prematibara nirbhinna. Prema, atibara. Yes, so excessive prema, which is coming out from his heart. Nirbhinna. Pulakanga ati nivritaha. And Narada was experiencing so much of pulaka. His hairs were standing on his body, and Ananda Samplavelino, and he was completely merged in Ananda. Ananda Samplavelino, fully merged, was absorbed in so much of ecstasy. And Na Pashyan Upayam Mune. Narada says, I could not see neither myself nor the Supreme Lord because the eyes were totally filled with tears and I was in total ecstasy. So, Srila Prabhupada writes, spiritual feelings of happiness and intense ecstasy has no mundane comparison. So, the happiness experienced by Narada is not something mundane, it is not material. Therefore, it is very difficult to give expression to such feelings. Now, you cannot describe. Like Narada, in Narada Bhakti Sutra himself, he says, what is bhakti? How do you describe? Mukha swadatvad. Mukha means a dumb person. You give a rasgulla to a dumb person, and he eats the rasgulla and experiences nice sweetness. And you go and ask a dumb person, oh, how was it? We ask a question. How does he express it? He goes on, he expresses, and you say, how? Tell. He cannot speak. Mukha swadatvat. The same way, it is very difficult to give expression to such feelings. There are no words. Vamana. You can just give a glimpse of such ecstasy in the words of Narad Muni. How can you describe what is Krishna Prema? It is beyond description, beyond words. Mukha swadatvat. Each and every part of the body, the sense has a particular function, and after seeing the Lord, all the senses became fully awakened to render service to the Lord, because in the liberated stage, the senses are fully efficient in serving the Lord. As such, in that transcendental ecstasy, it so happened that senses became separately enlivened to serve the Lord. Thus being so, Narada lost himself seeing both himself and Lord simultaneously. So, Ananda Samplavelina. Actually, in the bliss, Narada, he fainted. So what happens is, in the level of prema, all the material senses, they're completely stunned. And the spiritual senses, they become totally awakened. So he had goosebumps erupting. All these symptoms of ecstasy, prema, the Bhakti Samana Sindhu, there are 10 levels of prema described. The last one is murcha, actually death in one sense. It's completely unconscious, like Prema Mahaprabhu become unconscious. That is the 10th level of prema. So that was the experience Narada had when he saw Lord within his heart. Now, Rupam Bhagavato Yattan Manaha Kantam Suchapaham Abhashyan Sahasote Vaikalva Drumana Iva. 18th verse. Rupam bhagavato yattan manakantam suchapaham. What happened? Apashyan. Apashyan means not seeing. The Lord unmanifested. Just gave glimpse for 1 second. Immediately he went into ecstasy. Like we told, the 13th step is what? The darshan, Bhagavad darshan. So Narada could have darshan of the Lord. And that darshan made him experience so much of ecstasy. And all of a sudden, what happened? Apashyan sahasothaste. Sahasa. All of a sudden, the Lord had manifested. Apashyan sahasa uthaste vikalvayat. He became vikalvayat, became totally mad. Drumana iva. Drumana iva. Suppose some beggar is there, very feeling very bad, very sad, no money. All of a sudden, he was given 1 crore rupees. How much ecstasy you'll feel? Oh, so happy. And all of a sudden, it is taken away. What happens? He'll become more depressed than before. That is what happened. Rupam bhagavato yattan manakayam suchapaham. He said, Narada says, I became completely agitated by separation of the Lord. I became despondent, like someone who has lost a treasure. Of course, Srila Prabhupada talks about the Lord is not formless. And then second paragraph will read. As spiritual beings having eternal relation to the transcendental form of Lord, we are, life after life, searching after that form of the Lord. And we are not satisfied by any other form of material appeasement. Narada Muni got a glimpse of this, but having not seen it again, he became perturbed and stood up all of a sudden to search out. What we desire, life after life, was obtained by Narada, and losing sight of him again was certainly a great shock for him. So, this glimpse of darshan which Narada got from the Lord, that made him mad. That made him experiencing separation from Krishna. So, this is what is described in this particular verse. And the separation is actually going to make him more advanced in devotion, become qualified to actually go back home, back to Godhead, get a spiritual body. So he's experiencing separation from Krishna as if a rich man all of a sudden loses wealth, he becomes mad. So that kind of madness, Narada. And apashyan sahasottatte vikalvad punaiva. Next. Didrikshustad aham bhuyaha pranidhaya manohridi Vikshamanopi na pashyam vitriptaha ivaturaha. Then Narada thought, no, I'm going to concentrate again. So he closed his eyes. Didukshuhu tad aham bhuyaha pranidhaya manohridi. Pranidhaya manohridi. He concentrated in his heart. So much of concentration in his heart, where he could find Krishna previously. Now he tried to find the same Krishna again in his heart. Drilukshuhu, with great desire to see. Aham bhuyaha, again I concentrated. Pranidhaya manohridi vikshamano. After trying to see him so hard, many attempts of concentration, api na pashyan, I could not see. Then what happened? Avitriptaha iva aturaha. I became very much aggravated, being dissatisfied. So, Srila Prabhupada says, darshan of Krishna, Narada could attain not because of his endeavor, it is because of Krishna's mercy. The same way, if you try to do it again and try to endeavor and try to see the Lord, then Prabhupada says it is not a mechanical means. There is no mechanical process to see the form of the Lord. It is completely depending on the causeless mercy of the Lord. We cannot demand the Lord to be present before our vision, just as we cannot demand the sun to rise whenever we like. The sun rises on its own accord. So also the Lord is pleased to be present out of his causeless mercy. One should simply await the opportune moment and go on discharging his prescribed duty in devotional service to the Lord. Narada Muni thought that Lord could be seen again by the same mechanical process, which was successful in the first attempt. But in spite of his utmost endeavor, he could not make the second attempt successful. The Lord is completely independent of all obligations. He can simply be bound by the tie of unalloyed devotion, nor he can simply be bound up by the tie of unalloyed devotion, nor is he visible or perceivable by our material senses. When he pleases, being satisfied with the sincere attempt of devotional service depending completely on the mercy of the Lord, then he may be seen out of his own accord. Interesting verse you can note in this point from the Upanishads. Very famous verse, most of you must be knowing. Those who don't know, for those who don't know, they can be given that verse in the message on the screen by those who know this verse. Nayam atma pravachanena labhya na medasha na bhavana shrutena yamye vaishrunate tena labhya tasya syatmamurate tanuswam. Nayam atma pravachanena labhya. The Lord is not attained by big pravachans. Na medasha, nor by intelligence. Na bahuna shrutena, by excessive memory of the Vedic literatures. Na medasha bahuna shrutena. Who can attain the Lord? Whom does the Lord shows himself to? Whomever he selects. Whomever Krishna selects, such person, Krishna, reveals Atma Vrunate Tanuswam. He reveals his Swarupa to that person. So, Nayam Atma Pravachan Labhyaha Na Medasha is typed here. It has been put it in the chat. You can see that. Na Medasha Bhuna Shutena Yamye Vaishabnate Tena Labhya Sesyat Vrunate Tanuswam. Very interesting verse. So Narada tried his best to get the darshan of the glimpse of the Lord again, but he could not. So Pandidhaya Manohradi, in spite of all his yogic practices, he could not do. 20th verse. This is the last verse for today. Evam yatantam vijane mam ahagocharo giran gambhira lakshanya vachaha suchaha prashamayam niva. And what happened? Narada tells, Evam yatantam vijane. I was attempting again and again to see the Lord. Mam aha agocharaha. I could hear the voice from a place which cannot be seen. I could not see anybody. Agocharaha. Giram gambhira lakshanya. Giram was, the words were very gambhira, very grave, and also very pleasing to hear. And these words actually satisfied me. So the Lord has been described as Giram Agocharaha. Agochara means one who cannot be perceived by the senses. So Giram Agocharaha, one who cannot be even described by the words. There are descriptions in the scriptures. It says, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. If you go on talking about God, the words of description of God, they go up and then they come back empty-handed. You think about who is absolute truth. Go on thinking how big Krishna is. Go on thinking, go on thinking. These thoughts come back again empty-handed. Aprapya manasa saha. Because by your own capacity, you cannot describe the Lord. By your own mental speculation, you cannot imagine about the Lord. He's unlimited, Ananta, Agochara. So in the Vedas it is said that God is beyond approach of mundane words and intelligence. This is from the Taittiriya Upanishad, which says, Yado vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. Very famous statement, but also you can memorize. It's good to memorize that or know it at least. And yet, by the causeless mercy, one can have suitable senses to hear him or to speak to him. Now, you can see, you can speak. How? Only by causeless mercy. So, this is Lord's inconceivable energy. One upon whom his mercy is bestowed can hear him. The Lord was much pleased by Narada Muni. Therefore, the necessary strength was invested in him so that he could hear the Lord. It is not, however, possible for others to perceive directly the touch of the Lord during the preparatory stage of regulated devotional service. It was a special gift for Narada. When he heard the pleasing words of the Lord, the feeling of separation was to some extent mitigated. The devotee in love with God feels always pangs of separation, is therefore always enwrapped in transcendental ecstasy. So, Narada started his from Vaidhi Bhakti. Went on doing, he had realization of first what? He could see the Lord. And not only he could see, he could hear the sound of the Lord, which is very pleasing. And not only that, he could smell the fragrance of the Lord. The nose, the ears, and the eyes. And now there are two more things. That is to touch and taste. For that, it requires physical contact. Touch means physical contact. Taste also requires physical contact. Gopis taste the lips of Krishna. Physical contact is required. These two Narada could not get. That who could get only after spiritual body. Now still Narada has material body, but in that material body, he has a spiritual realization of prema. Maximum, these three things can happen. That is, these three sense of sight, Narada could see within his body, within his heart, and he could not only see, could hear. Not everybody can hear, only Narada could hear because he was given the special. Now words could also be heard. In this way, the longing which Narada had to see the Lord, separation which Narada had, it was somehow pacified by hearing the words of the Lord, by hearing the descriptions of the Lord. Tavakata amritam, tapta jivanam, kavividitam. So Gopi is in separation. They say, oh Lord, separation, there is only one hope. Tavakata amritam. Now if you love someone and you are separated from the person whom you love, if the love is so much, how can you live without the person? You should have died. That was the question. Oh Gopis, if you love me so much, you are still alive. The Gopis say, oh Lord, what to say? We are discussing about you, your katha. We cannot live without Krishna katha. And that Krishna katha is actually becoming amrita for us, maintaining us. Tava katha amritam. Because we are drinking the nectar of your katha, we are still alive. Otherwise, we would have died. These are the Gopis on the side of Chandravali who are telling like that. Dainya bhava. Some Gopis are saying, Tava katha mritam. Oh Lord, actually, your thoughts about you are troubling us so much, we want to forget you. And we try to forget you. For that, we go and engage ourselves in some activity. By the time some Gopi would talk about your katha, seeing the tree. Oh, this is the tree where we embrace Krishna. This is the tree which Krishna spoke like this. Then that Krishna katha, when we we are reminded about you and your pastimes, that becomes death for us. It's actually killing us more and more, of course. Two meanings of Vakatamritam. In the Gopi Geetam has got, each verse has got two meanings, double meaning. One on the Gopis, Chandravali side, Gopis Radharani side. Of course, we will not talk much about it now. For now, we should know that Narada experienced extreme separation, and some of the separation was mitigated by Giram. Giram Gambhira Lakshanyavachaha Shucha Prahasan Prasamayanniva. Somehow satisfied, pacified me. This way, Narada, he comes to this point. And after that, what happened to Narada, how he got a spiritual body, and how after having this darshan of the Lord and separation of the Lord, again hearing from the Lord, and he is somehow pacified. What did he do? How he conducted his life after this thing, and how he got a spiritual body, we'll see tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. At 1:10, I had to go for some place, some meeting. One question I can take. If you have one question, you have 3 minutes time, 2 minutes time. The caste system is all in its purity, is perfect, but does not the passing of yugas influence Kali? It is foretold in scriptures that the Brahmanas will become exploitative. The Britishers will and use divide and rule. Definitely, there was a weakness within our system. I mean, someone did not follow duty, which allowed them to penetrate. We had to take responsibility to. Yes, I'll tell you one reason. One of the reasons, many reasons. One of the reasons is abundance will always create complacence. Abundance will create complacency. Like a rich man's son, he has got crores of rupees. What does he do? He doesn't know the value because he has abundance. He becomes complacent. Few lakh rupees gone, let it go. But when there's scarcity, that creates value. So abundance of spiritual culture create negligence towards the spiritual culture because of complacence. So this is one of the important reasons. That is why always talk about the glory of the culture. When there is no preaching of spiritual culture, talking about the glory of spiritual culture, abundance is always going to create complacency. I still remember when I joined ISKCON 22 years back. For me at that time, to get 5 rupees was so valuable. Even 5 rupees was so valuable that, I can use this for going to temple to station. But now, to make vouchers, I still remember I used to make vouchers. 75 rupees, hisab of 10 rupees, 4 rupees, going from here to there. And for that, waiting from the accounts department to get that 250 rupees reimbursement, petty cash, wait for two days. But now, because the temples have become big, fine. What is there? Let go, pay, no problem, get it, purchase, buy. 1,000 rupees, Janadana. Why? Abundance creates negligence. That is why the Vedic culture is, in spite of you having a lot of abundance, still the value has been taught. Values were taught. It was not taught. So definitely we have to take responsibility. Careless master, shameless dog. If you are a careless master, then a shameless dog comes into your house. So definitely we became careless masters of our country. If I go further, why became careless? What is the reason of carelessness? We thought that I can protect my country alone. I don't need to do any sandhi. So if you give me the subject matter, I can go on speaking for hours, but anyhow. Why they entered is because the kings in this different quarters of India, though they were actually one, they're integrated by one culture, one scripture. Every house there was Tulsi, every house there was Gita. They were all integrated in one sense, one culture. The Brahmins misadvised them. You are independent, you are a king, so why you require to do coalition, sandhi? In Rajaniti, the first thing is sandhi. That was not done. That is how the first foreign invader came. What was his name? Alauddin Khilji. Because the Rajasthan kings, they were so powerful, so great, but they were not having the intelligence to do sandhi with the Bhoja Raja. Bhoja was killed. What to do? That gave the gateway for all the foreign rule to enter and do all kinds of mischief. Of course, this is a different subject matter altogether. We don't want to discuss because you may be very interested in that, Balabhadra Kripa Prabhu, but others are all into Krishna Prema and all. So these things will not really appeal to them. So I don't want to talk much about this. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. I need to go for another meeting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.